Never.
All right, good evening and welcome to tonight's meeting of the Lunenburg Select Board. Today is Tuesday, October 1st. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. In accordance with the requirements of the open meeting law, please be advised that this meeting is being recorded and broadcast live over the Lunenburg Public Access channel, on Facebook Live on the Public Access Facebook page, and will be uploaded to the Lunenburg Access YouTube channel after the meeting. The agenda lists all the topics which may be discussed at the meeting and are those reasonably anticipated by the chair. Votes may be taken as a result of these discussions. Not all items listed may in fact be discussed, and other items not listed may also be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by the open meeting law. We're going to begin tonight with public comments. Are there any public comments from the board?
From me?
None.
No.
Are there any public comments from the public? All right, seeing none,
Recording in progress.
we're going to move on to announcents. I have a couple. The Lunenburg High School Alumni Association is pleased to announce the 2024 Alumna/Alumnus/In Memoriam Award recipient. These awards recognize Lunenburg High School graduates who have made extraordinary contributions to the Lunenburg community. For alumna, Sharon McMillan Kimball, class of 1975, alumnus David Passios, class of 1972, and in memoriam Lance D. May, class of 1968. All are welcome to join us to celebrate on Sunday, October 20th at 12 p.m. at the Bull Run Restaurant at 215 Great Road, Shirley, Massachusetts. In addition to the presentation of these awards, the recipients of the 2024 scholarships and attendees celebrating their 50th, 55th, 60th, 65th, and 70th high school graduation anniversaries will be recognized. The town of Lunenburg has signed a 24-month contract with its current supplier, First Point Power. Beginning with the November 2024 meter reads, the Lunenburg Community Choice Power Supply Program will have a new rate of $0.12 per kilowatt hour. For Lunenburg residents and businesses who are enrolled in the town's program, the current rate of 11 cents per kilowatt hour will expire with the November 2022 meter reads, and the new rate of 12 cents per kilowatt hour will take effect. This represents an increase of $6 per month on the supply side of the bill, given an average usage of 600 kilowatt hours. However, the new rate is 33% lower than Unitil's residential basic service rate. Residents can expect to see an average savings of $38 per month for the months of November 2024 through January 2025. Lunenburg launched its electricity program in an effort to develop an energy program that would be stable and affordable. It is important to note that no action is required by current participants. And a couple more. Sorry, I have a lot of announcements tonight. The flu vaccine clinic at the library is this Thursday, 3 to 5 p.m. Pre-registration is required, and you can do so at noshoba.org/calendar. The agricultural fair will be this Saturday at TC Passios. And you can get your 2024 Lunenburg Spirit Wear from the Lunenburg PTO, who is selling t-shirts and hoodies. The proceeds go to the PTO, supporting their mission of promoting the best educational experience for students at Lunenburg Public Schools. Make your order by October 18th, and you can visit their Facebook page to make a purchase. All right, are there any other announcements? Communications from other boards? I don't have any. Does anyone else?
No.
All right, so we're going to go a little out of order here. So we're going to jump down to appointments, ratifications, and resignations, and we're going to start with a ratification of interim town manager's appointment for public safety front desk clerk, Evelyn Rowe. So I'll pass it to Carter, and the chief.
And I'll pass to the chief.
All right.
At least I didn't make you one of those Canadian Football League passes, Chief.
Well, after the way the Patriots played Sunday, I wouldn't object to it.
Oh, they played Sunday?
This is coming from a New York guy. Thank you for having us tonight. I really appreciate this again. As you are aware, we had an opening in our public safety front desk clerk. When Ms. Moore left us, the position became vacant. The position that was there, she took over from Ms. Moore. We advertised the position. We conducted interviews on 5 candidates. At the end of the interviews, myself and Lieutenant met with Evelyn Rowe, and she was the top scoring candidate out of the interviews. At the conclusion of the process, we are confident that we had found the right candidate who is a good fit for our department and community. I am pleased to recommend Evelyn Rowe for the full-time public safety desk clerk position. Ms. Rowe is a lifelong resident of Dracut, graduating from Dracut High School until she moved to Nashua, New Hampshire. She graduated from the University of Massachusetts Lowell with a Bachelor of Science degree in criminal justice with a minor in psychology. Ms. Rowe graduated magna cum laude, which is probably a lot higher than we have had here. Maintained a GPA of 3.576 and earning Dean's List honors from 2022 through 2024. She also holds an associate's degree from Middlesex Community College, graduating in 2022. Through her background investigation, it was found that Ms. Rowe is well thought of and is an excellent employee. The owner of her current place of employment described Ms. Rowe as a great person, a team player, dependable, and hardworking. A coworker described her as a great person who's always ready to go, dependable, and coachable. One of the things, too, that stood out was the fact that she was given tasks with very minimal supervision. It was demonstrated, and she was able to complete it on her own without any interactions. It is reiterated by both. It was reiterated by both the owner and coworker that she is a great employee and a great person. We believe that Ms. Rowe has the necessary skills and characteristics to be successful within our organization. She has met all the requirements for this position, and we look forward to Ms. Rowe coming on board. I introduce you to Ms. Rowe.
Thank you. Hi guys, thank you for having me. As you know, my name is Evelyn Rowe. Just a little bit to cover a little bit about myself. Grew up in Dracut, obviously, like you said. Went to UMass Lowell for criminal justice for my bachelor's degree. I have a lot of background with communication, especially from my previous job, so I think I can take that on with this new job. And I really look forward to serving the community of Lunenburg.
Cool. Thank you, Evelyn.
Yeah,
I'll open
thank
it
you.
up for any questions or comments from the board.
No questions. Sounds like you're very well qualified, and I look forward to you starting with us.
Thank you very much.
I also don't have any questions, but looking forward to you joining the team. It's a great place to be.
Thank you.
Here to the previous comments. It's unfortunate that the chief is in his last couple of weeks with us. But I think that, one of the things that I think, is one of the signatures of Chief Gamble's tenure is his hiring. And the highly qualified individuals that have come before us for appointment. And you certainly are continuing in that mold. So I want to thank the chief for his work in recruitment, and also thank you for coming before us for this important position.
Thank you.
I don't have any questions, but it sounds like you'll be a great fit, Evelyn, so thank you for wanting to work for the town of Lunenburg. So is there a motion?
I would move that we ratify the interim town manager's appointment for public safety front desk clerk, Evelyn Rowe.
Second?
Any additional discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The motion passes. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks for coming in tonight.
Thank you.
All right, and now we're going to jump back up to scheduled meetings and hearings. And we're going to start with our first public hearing for the transfer of a general on-premise all alcohol license, common vic license, automated amusement license, jukebox license, and weekday entertainment license to St. Mary in Christ, Inc., located at 1 Main Street. So since this is a public hearing, I'm going to have to ask the clerk to read the public hearing notice, and then I will invite the applicant up to the podium to introduce themselves and talk about what you want to do with the business and your experience, if the applicant is here tonight. Yep, okay, cool. Come on up. Hold on one second, we just need the clerk to read the notice, just the first paragraph.
Yep. The Lunenburg Licensing Authority will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, October 1st, 2024, at 7:05 p.m. on the application submitted by St. Mary in Christ, Inc. for the transfer of an all-alcoholic beverages, general on-premise license, common victular, jukebox, and weekday entertainment license located at 1 Main Street, Lunenburg, Massachusetts. The premise is described as a single-story lobby a single-story lobby, takeout counter, bar area, 22 by 20 outdoor patio, main dining area, women's restroom, I'm sorry, I don't know what NC, women's NC restrooms, office, storage area, order area, and cook kitchen. The following information is also provided for the members of the public that would like to participate in the meeting remotely.
All right, cool, thank you. So yeah, if you could just tell us about yourself, what you want to do with the business, and
Sure.
talk about your previous experience.
Okay, actually, my name is Imad Iskandar, and I have another partner, his name Magid Tadros, and I've been working in the food business for 20 years, and I do my best to serving Lunenburg residents, and I make a great food, make everybody happy.
All right, I'll open it up to questions now, starting with Selectman Alonso.
So, in reading all the information, if I am understanding this correctly, you don't have any employees right now.
Right now, no.
So what exactly are you going to be doing with the business?
It's the same employer is gonna be in a restaurant.
But you said you have no employees.
I still don't get the business yet. I'm gonna use the same employer was working right now in the restaurant.
Okay. So right now you have no employees, but you're going to
Yeah.
inherit,
Yeah, I'm still not on it now.
okay? Any,
It might help, I don't mean to interrupt, it might help if I come up here with him.
You
Okay.
can, yes,
David?
but we do want to hear from the applicant as well, but you can come up and speak to.
Well, it would be easy, he's taking over Bad Larry's, so he's gonna be taking over the existing business structure, employees, restaurant menu, everything's gonna remain the same. His intent is just basically to, as I start to retire, he's gonna be taking over my existing business. He'll be training with me for about 30 days prior to the business being acquired, and at that time, he'll have all the licensing, tips, I don't know if he's already got tips certified, et cetera, that he needs to take the business over. I was just trying to help clarify, I think, there might be a little bit of confusion, maybe a little bit of shyness, I'm not quite sure at this point. So I figured I might be able to clarify some of the questions.
while I understand the intent, I'm not sure that things are going in the right order. Because the first thing we would ask is certainly, not for all the licenses, but certainly for the alcohol license, is does he have anybody who's tip certified? But if he has no employees and he's not tip certified himself, by definition, he has no one who's tip certified.
Yes, all of our employees,
But your employees aren't his employees, as of right tonight.
correct.
Okay, so that's a problem. I can't, we need to make sure that the license we're transferring for has somebody who's tip certified. But if he has no employees, then that's a cart before the horse, it seems like.
Well, technically, he has no employees because he hasn't bought the business yet. Once he acquires the business, he acquires all the employees, all those employees, and then tip certified. So all the employees are going to be transferred over. I've already discussed it with them. And every employee that's currently employed there under my business will then be transferred over to his business. Okay, so technically, he's correct. He has no employees until he actually pays for the business. They're still mine until the day we transfer the business. That's what he was trying to say, is he has no employees, but I have employees that are going to be transferred over on the day of the business transfers. They're all tip certified. All my bartenders are tip certified. The managers are tip certified. So technically, he's buying a business with tip certified employees.
Well, yes,
I mean-
yes and no. I mean, again, while you mentioned the word a few times, technically, well, unfortunately, the whole law is about technicalities. So I'm being asked to transfer a license with someone who actually, not technically, but actually doesn't have any employees that are tip certified. Now, and there's no promissory in this. In transferring the license, you're just telling us that he's going to do that. I mean, and maybe for all intents and purposes, he will do that. But there's no legal responsibility that says he's going to do that. And that's, to me at least, I don't know about the other members, to me, that's problematic.
Yeah.
I've been in a bunch of meetings and I'm really confused as to the question and how it's posed, because I mean, I can understand his confusion. If he's buying a business and he has no current employees because he has no current business, am I correct in that assumption? I'm just trying to ask this.
No.
Okay, so I'm not correct that if he doesn't own the business and he's not employing anybody at this time because he doesn't have a business, and he has no reason to have an expense of any sort for employees because he has no business currently until the license is transferred and the business is sold, then how could he have employees? So I'm confused at that, because right now the entity hasn't transferred and he has no current business, therefore he has no current employees. Once the business is transferred and he actually takes possession of the entity, then he will have the current employees will then be under his payroll. They will then be his employees. Those employees are the ones that are tip certified and able to work for him. But he had, I mean, I don't want to use the word technically again, so I won't use it. But I'm just confused as to the question. If I didn't make that clear, please clarify as how he can have employees when he has no business.
I don't want to, may I?
Well,
Mr.
I will say one thing. So I understand what you're saying and what the intent is, and we don't generally, for these kind of transactions, don't have town council here. But in approving a license, an alcohol license, the other licenses are fine. I have no problem with that, with the other licenses. But the alcohol license have special oversight by the ABCC. And my understanding, at least as being a member of this board, is that we would need those certifications. So the fact that he has no employees would prevent, in my eyes, the transfer of the license today. He would have to get the business first with all the other license, and then have employees, and then come back to ask for the alcoholic one. That would be my understanding. I don't know if anybody on this board has any information other than that, but that is my understanding.
My understanding is very similar to Mr. Alonso's. I think that what we've normally seen with the transfer is, usually the sale of the business is contingent upon the successful transfer of all the licenses that go with the business, right?
That is what exactly
And so,
correct.
on the applicant side, the applicant has to demonstrate that when he takes over that business, that he's going to have all these insurances ready to go on day one. And so 100% of the time, when an applicant comes before us, as an example, you say, if you're going to have employees, you reach out to your insurance company, you get that quote, you get the, you get your certificate of insurance that identifies the date the policy starts, all that other information. Now, you can work with insurance companies, push that date out 2-3 weeks if you need to. That way, you don't have to pay them a minimal or nominal amount. But you certainly have to demonstrate that you have insurance. You have to demonstrate that you have employees. I mean, even further into the policy, and I'm going to, go back to Mr. Alonso here, but we'll get into it when it's my turn. But there's also, as you know, a requirement for like a written policy for your employees. And so, the application certainly is missing that. And that written policy is, how do you train your employees? What is your training program? All of that, suggests that you're taking those steps before the business is necessarily fully transferred. But I'll refer back to Mr. Alonso.
No, well, again, the first one was and I was going to get, so I'm glad that, the vice chair talked about insurances, because again, we would need insurances too for the business at the same time. So there has to be some kind of legal thing that's guaranteeing that he has insurance if the deal goes through, and there's got to be a legal thing that he has employees, or he can't get the alcohol one, he can get everything else, and then when he's starting, then he can come back for the transfer. But again, I don't know that we can approve it without those things being in place, not being promised, not being things in the future, but things being in the present.
Yeah, I wish his attorney had, in fact, come tonight, because he would basically say it more technically than, I love that word, by the way, than I'm saying. Basically, we do have a purchase and sale agreement currently running, which says that the transfer of the business is contingent upon the transfer of the license. We cannot move forward for the transfer of the transfer of the business until the license is transferred. That's standard. I've done this a half a dozen times, and I've never had this question honestly asked about the employees, because the employees not naturally, I don't want to say that they automatically go with the business, but my employees his employees would have to be tip certified, et cetera.
Right.
He will be training with me, taking over the business, the current running business. He's not planning to change the menu, he's not planning to change anything. All he's planning to do is basically purchase the business in its existing form with the existing employees. So, I mean, he could go and get a, what do you call it, a rider, an insurance rider, stating that, but I've never seen that at this point of the game. Normally, it's transfer license contingent upon him getting those things, in fact, and you don't sign the license. They send it to the state approves it, but he has to have those in place anyways. The state won't give it to him without workers' comp, I know this for a fact. So he has to have all these things in place. Basically, my understanding of this meeting was to meet him, to approve. I'm not telling you your job. This is not my job to tell you your job. This is just my understanding from prior experience, that you meet him, you approve him, or not approve him, depending, and then it moves forward according to state policy, which would, then you have to have workers' comp. You can't have any alcohol license without workers' comp. You have to have, this town requires tip certification. My employees are currently tip certification. If he purchases the business, then his employees that come with him will be tip certified. If not, we still have to, even if he hires a new employee, hypothetically, all his employees quit, they all have to be tip certified. This is the town rule. So it's not like he can just go over past the policies of the town of Lunenburg. I know every employee I hire that works the bar has to go out and get tip certified. If they're not tip certified, they have a certain amount of time to get tip certified. So I'm at a loss as to the employee question. I understand the premise behind it, I do, I honestly do. But it can't, none of this can move forward without your approval, so he can go to the state, so I mean, he can come with a rider. You can give him 24 hours to come back with a rider. I mean, that's easy. You go to an insurance company and say, I need a rider, if he doesn't already have it. Like I said, I'm at a loss to why his attorney is not here today, and I'm standing here acting as his advocate, but that's neither here nor there.
Right. I mean, I could say that I've been doing this for 18 years, and we've done a lot of these. I've never had somebody not have an employee at all, not one. And it's a promissory note that, okay, I'm going to inherit. I mean, the employees aren't real property. You know, he's going to inherit, you know, your business and the location and the lease and the equipment and everything, but your employees are not yours to give to him. So it's just a promissory that they're going to go along, and I don't know that I have the authority without somebody on his payroll that says that he can do it, or an agreement, a legal agreement that says, and I don't know how it would have to be signed by, that the employees will work for him. But until that, I don't know that, again, and I don't want to belabor the point because I've made it several times, that I can approve the alcohol license. I can approve the other ones contingent on everything else.
I'll say it right in front of you, so you know that at the time of purchase, I will be employed by this gentleman for a period of 30 days. I am totally tip certified, and I will work for him and ensure that he at least has, are you tip certified, by the way, David?
Yeah.
Two of us.
So you're tip certified?
Yep.
Do we have documentation of that in the application?
I don't have it right now.
Okay.
All right, Selectman Moore, do you have any questions?
Nope.
Selectman Jeffrey, do you have more questions?
Yes. So can you show me, I don't know if you have a copy of the application, but can you just point to me where your hours of operation are listed?
Our operation, it's gonna be the same.
Well,
as-
what
as
is
it
that?
now.
What is, I don't want to be
It's,
hostile, and be very
okay.
respectful, but what does that mean?
It's, I think he opened Monday to Saturday, Sunday closing, but Monday open half day, like 4 to 9. Maybe in the future, we're making all day, but I'm not sure yet.
Okay. So on the application, it notes that you are a 50% owner, not a 51% owner, but a 50% owner.
Yep.
Where is the other owner at?
Yeah, he's supposed to come in, but he have another business, so he was busy, he can't come in tonight, yeah.
Okay. So at the end of my questions, I want to make a couple comments. So can you show me in your application where you have the floor plan? I mean, I understand what the business current layout is,
Yep.
but do you have in here where the floor plan is?
Not right now.
Okay. Is that it on the back page?
Last page, I believe.
Okay. Thank you. And I already mentioned two other notes. So in our rules and regulations as it pertains to alcohol, section 1.01 first identifies, that you're going to post the rules and regulations of the select board, that they'll be posted in your place of business. In the application, section 1.04 requires the hours of operation. Maybe I missed it, but it would be helpful if we had that. Next, I am not comfortable moving forward without both entities. You're not a majority owner, you're a co-owner. And so I would like to interview and meet with the other owner, since this is a dual business, in order for it to move forward. And I believe that was, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but Maged? Magid.
Yeah.
And then the last thing is, I know that the business currently has a written training program for alcohol. This, we've talked about it before. It's required as per section 1.19 of our rules and regulations. It's not included in your application. So, I'm going to ask the chair if we can reschedule this public hearing. But what I would also ask is that you provide in the interim, basically borrow what Al's policy is, and you just say, hey, I'm going to incorporate this, into my rules and regulations. This is how I'm going to train my employees. You kind of go with Al's employees, they're tip certified, you get a copy of that tip certification, add it into the packet. So that way when you come before us next time, it's, hey, I'm going to be coming here, I'm expecting that on day one, I'm going to have up to 10 employees. These are the ones that currently work for the business. Here are their tip certifications, as well as a copy of yours, and that way we're good to go in there. Those are really my main thing. And then the insurance point, when you look at our checklist, which we kind of do to help the applicants out, as well as the ABCC's checklist, they kind of coincide. So like the floor plan is on their list too, as well as some of the rules and regulations. So it would be helpful if you could come before us with that information that's missing.
Okay, that will be soon?
It would not be up to me. That would be up to the chair and town manager, and based on the upcoming schedule.
But I don't want this to happen again, where we have a public hearing scheduled and we don't have all this stuff in. And I understand the intent of what you want to do with sort of onboarding and taking over, but I'm not really sure in terms of how the application was, of you listing employees. And so do you have workers' comp insurance now under?
Not yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
And as I'm not entirely sure, but I would assume that that's a requirement for licensing.
You can exempt the officers of the business from the workers' comp, but it's hard to run a pizza shop with two people. So I think it's understood that you're going to have employees, right? Someone's answering the phone, taking orders, someone's making food, someone's serving alcohol, someone has to clean, stock. It's usually a restaurant, so more than a two-person enterprise.
Yeah, but like I said, I get the intent. You're taking over, the employees probably are going to stay, and you're going to transition into the ownership. How that works now for transferring this license over to you, it seems like there's still some things that need to be worked out, unfortunately. So I will also ask interim town manager if there's anything that he wants to add at this point.
Well, my suggestion is that we get a conference with the current owner, the buyers, our counsel, his counsel, and we put all this information together, any additional questions from the board to us, and that you table this matter until October 15.
Is that?
I just don't think we could get it done for next Tuesday.
Okay, so we can continue this hearing.
Right.
Yes, you
Okay,
would table
that's-
it and continue
All right,
it.
that makes it a lot easier, then we don't have to republish.
No.
So
Yeah.
that would make it quicker.
I just
do have
don't think,
one additional question for the applicant.
Yeah.
Are you intending on working there? You or your partner, will you be working at the site?
Right now,
No. After you buy it, will you be working?
all the time. I'll
So
be there all the time.
that's going to be your primary location?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Okay. So by rights, you actually do have an employee. You're your own employee.
yeah, exactly.
Okay, so you probably want to reflect that, but I am for the tabling of it, or
I will
a
be one of
continuation
them.
of this.
Yeah. All right, so it sounds like we're going to take this offline and sort of get everything that we need for the application and then continue this public hearing. I'm sorry it didn't work out tonight, and I'm sorry that maybe you didn't know that going into this meeting, but yeah, it sounds like we're going to continue this public hearing until maybe 2 weeks from now, and hopefully everything will be in place then.
Mr. Chair, I want to make it clear that I am not, I have no interest in purposely delaying the whole transaction. I just am resolute in my ability to do this correctly. So, again, if it takes till that 2 weeks, for everybody's sake, I'd rather it be done right instead of backtracking and something not being right after the fact. So I apologize for the delay, but I think it's important.
So, Mr. Chair, I then move to continue this public hearing to a date certain on October the 15th at 7:15 PM.
Second.
Any additional discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The motion passes unanimously.
All right.
All right, so we will see you back here again on...
See you in 2 weeks.
Reach out to our office
I
tomorrow.
was going to say, you should reach out to our office and talk to Annie and
Annie.
Carter in the office, the people that you've been talking to really just work through
So
some
we can
of
get a
these things.
schedule for everyone to
Yeah.
chat.
I would.
So like I said, I'm sorry it didn't work out tonight, but...
That's fine.
We'll get there.
Will be next time.
All right.
Have a great
good
night.
night.
Thank you.
All right. All right, moving on to another public hearing for the transfer of a general on-premise all alcohol license, common vic license, etc., to Bedrock Bar and Grill LLC, located at 324 Electric Ave, Unit 4. And then, same thing as last time, to the clerk, I'll have you read the notice and have you guys talk about what you want to do.
The Lunenburg Licensing Authority will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, October 1st, 2024, at 7:25 PM at Town Hall, 17 Main Street, second floor, Lunenburg, Massachusetts, on the application submitted by Bedrock Bar and Grill LLC, DBA Bedrock Bar and Grill, for the transfer of alcohol license number 00039-RS-0636, restaurant all alcohol, located at 324 Electric Avenue, Unit 4. The premises is described as a Lakeview Plaza end unit consisting of bar, dining room, 2 restrooms, kitchen cooking area, seating for 100 people with an entrance and exit. That's it.
All right, and this is Kindred Spirits, just to be clear, right?
Correct.
Okay, cool. All right, so I'll pass it over to you guys.
Very good. My name is Steve Marsden. My partner, Walter Godfrey, we're taking over Kindred Spirits. I did sit with Annie quite extensively, and I went through her checklist, so I believe I have all the information in there. I have insurances in there, workman's comp. We have 5 employees right now. I already submitted the tip certifications and server certifications for those people, so all of that is in the packet. The hours of operation, we're going to do the same one as Kindred on their current liquor license. So basically, we're just mirroring the existing operation and the hours of the existing operation. We're looking forward to making it a user-friendly and clean place for people to come and have some fun.
Awesome.
Mr. Chair, may I ask Mr. Marsden, good to see you again. I just need to confirm that you do not own property that abuts mine anymore. Is that
That's
correct?
correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. I do not.
Full disclosure, Mr. Marsden was a butter to me for, 15 years?
Yep.
Yep.
I don't think that would matter in this case, but
No.
his business isn't going next to you.
If his answer was yes, would you recuse yourself?
I would've.
or you-
I would've,
yeah, Okay. All right, I'll open it up to questions.
Any substantial changes to the business?
Painting and cleaning. It needs a lot of painting. The inside will be all gutted and redone, but no other than that. It'll be cosmetic.
Okay, so there's no structural changes?
Yeah.
Structural change and just fluff and buff.
Yep.
Wow, all right. You learn a new rhyming phrase every day.
Never heard that one. Fluff and buff.
I see we have employees, you talked about the SIP certified. Everything in here seems correct. You said you've submitted the tip certification, right?
Yes, they're in the I have the packet here that I submitted to Annie. Annie's got those. Yep.
I don't know how quickly they get approved, but probably quickly. There's the floor plan. I have no questions. Everything seems to be in order here.
Annie was very good. She did a good job helping me.
I don't have any questions either.
All right.
So I think the application is complete as we require. I don't see a copy of the alcohol policy. I know you have one, and so
She called and she asked for that. I submitted it.
Did I miss it?
Yeah, I was gonna say, she did tell me that you
Yep,
submitted
it's
it.
there.
Okay. I know it's usually lengthy, and so maybe that got missed in the scan.
I didn't realize that you wanted, our policy is that everyone has to be tip certified. Everybody has to be safe serve, which is for the food. We have two safe serve managers for the food, so, and they're also certified through the state. Everybody will have a choke, CPR, and safe serve. So everybody, that was a requirement of my insurance carrier, everybody has to have those state certifications, so they'll have it.
I'm comfortable tonight moving on your application. I think that it would just, for me, I would ask that it would be contingent upon the presentation of that policy that just says, you know, but we know it's in place. We've had inspections in the past from the police department. You guys we've never, you know, really had a significant issue over there with the alcohol, as you're aware. And so I'm confident that everything's in place. It's just a matter of, you know, is that box checked here?
So what Annie asked, I don't know if you saw it.
We did.
Yeah,
Okay,
I saw
that's
it.
what Annie asked for.
Okay.
Yep.
Yep.
I don't have any questions. I'm comfortable with it as well, but I'll just ask the interim town manager if he's comfortable with where the application's at.
Absolutely.
All right, cool. With that, is there a
I
motion?
would move that we approve the transfer of the general on-premise all alcohol license, common vittler's license, automatic amusement license, jukebox license, and weekday entertainment license to Bedrock Bar and Grill LLC, doing business as Bedrock Bar and Grill, located at 324 Electric Avenue, Unit Number 4, as presented in our packet.
Second.
Any additional discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Motion passes unanimously.
Ladies, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good
Thank
night.
you.
Look forward to seeing you there.
Yeah. Are you fully retired now, Steve? Is this the end?
Yeah, no, you get to a certain age and that's what you do.
All right, thank you guys for coming in
Thank you.
tonight. Have a good night. All right, we're going to move to our next meeting. It's not a public hearing. Report by Police Chief and DPW Director for the Flat Hill Road traffic control.
Thank you. Bill Bernard, DPW Director. So I have a multi-page report, but I distilled it down to about a page, so I'll just go with that. So the residents in the Flat Hill area requested the Select Board to review the speed limit on Flat Hill Road. At the request of the Select Board, the DPW and the Police Department combined to study vehicular speeds, roadway geometry, and other site conditions to determine if any adjustments or improvements were required. The police conducted a speed study over the period of July 11th through July 20th, 2024. The basic standard is that 85% of people will drive this speed deemed reasonable, proper, and safe. The study shows this speed to be less than 5 miles per hour above the existing speed limit. We jointly studied the traffic conditions, adjacent land use, and other road uses and found no need for potential adjustments. Thus, we concluded no adjustments to the speed limit are suggested. And like I said, I have a full study. I called it Exhibit A. It's about 6-7 pages. After a preliminary review of roadway curvatures, slopes, and roadway conditions was conducted, first by myself, and then jointly between myself and the Lunenburg Police Traffic Officer, Jacob LaChance. And as a result of that study, we found that certain advisory signs for speed limits at various locations may be warranted. So I have a list of locations, and almost all of them are curves. So I don't know if you want me to read them all here.
No,
but
you don't. You can just like generalize too. I mean, one
Okay.
question I had, it seems like it's mostly around like the lake because it looks like there's only one that's like northbound.
Exactly. So most of them are from Reservoir Road up to Sunset Lane.
Right.
And then there was one, I would recommend one Hill Blocks View sign at house number 453, and that's kind of a straightaway closer to Page Street. Beyond that, we concluded that nothing further is warranted. Again, that study was part of Exhibit A. And we did a third study, was conducted at the intersection of Flat Hill Road and Burridge Street, as a resident requested this intersection be an all-way stop. So none of the 5 standard criteria for an all-way stop are met at that intersection. Therefore, I do not recommend making this intersection an all-way stop. And again, I have a full study of that in Exhibit B. That's the condensed version.
All right, cool. I'll open it up to questions.
Sure.
After reviewing this, and I think, you and I spoken in the past after the first hearing where the citizens presented this, I am fully in support of the document here, of the advisory signs, and no changes other than that. I am fully in agreement with the report.
So I do want to acknowledge, the concerns that the residents raised regarding the safety on their road, and those that submitted the petition, and that, it's important, and we value people's input. And I did take the time to review this full, very lengthy and well thought out presentation. You guys put a lot of work into it. After reviewing the recommendations from the chief and the DPW director, I fully support their approach. I think the plan increases signage, it will boost, considering boosting enforcement, and it's balanced in a well thought out response to the issue. I'm sure they'll continue to monitor it if there's any other things that come up in the future, and I appreciate your hard work that you put into this, and I fully support your recommendations.
I also support your recommendations. Thank you for the work. As you know, I just would have dropped the speed limit and been done with it. But I think that you have fully, the work between the police department and DPW, this kind of sets a very high standard for how we look into these requests as they come from residents. I know that when the residents met with us, they were obviously a little upset that the answer wasn't on that evening what they wanted to hear. But I think that it's what you've taken as an evidence-based approach to, demonstrating that, speed is mostly a factor in these kind of tight turns, and as you know from previous conversations I've made, it is important to me that people get out of Lunenburg quickly. So, people work in Boston, people work in Worcester, I'm a little resistant to dropping speed limits around town, especially in the absence of car accidents and other things that would necessitate it. But I think that the comments by my colleagues, I fully concur with. I think this is an excellent approach to resolving the concerns. I think it would be helpful, I would assume we're going to approve this, it will be helpful if we can also communicate this back to those residents, and I'm not sure how to do that, but let them know that, hey, we've looked into this, this is a lot of work, and I think demonstrating the amount of work that went into this and why the decisions were made, I think will help the residents understand that, they were listened to, they were heard, and that this is a reasonable approach to their concerns.
Yeah, I agree with that point as well. But I think I told you guys via email about my experience, and I also shared with the board, and I talked about it publicly. I experienced firsthand why you use data and the 85th percentile to set speed limits, because the biggest contributing factor to roadway safety is differences in speeds. I know because I drive generally kind of slowly around the speed limit in town, and I can tell you I get passed all the time, and sometimes very angrily. Actually, it just happened to me like a couple weeks ago since I last had that experience on Arbor Street that I talked about. So I don't know, it just happens a lot. Whatever, I don't know. But I think people genuinely forget when they get behind the wheel that they're operating a 2-ton killing machine. That's what cars are. And when that happened on Arbor Street, there was a woman walking her dog right in front of us. So I can, in good faith, when we have all of this data and also now my personal experience to back it up, make that road even more dangerous, which we could in theory do by just lowering the speed limit. So I understand why we're doing this, and I think the advisory speed limits that you're recommending are going to address it, right? And we're not putting them up everywhere so that they just sort of blend into the environment and people just drive by them. I think people will actually stop and slow down. So I hope that this is actually the best way forward to get people to slow down in areas that, actually improve safety. And I want to thank you for all the work that you put into this, because it was a lot of work. So thank you.
Mr. Chair, I want to just reiterate what I said at the initial hearing. First of all, to the vice chair's point that it should be communicated, I think this board, since those residents came to this board should respond, either directly or through the interim town manager, but it should come from the board, not from the DPW director or the police chief. Secondly, what I said at that thing is that, the major issue with that road, and it's true on other roads in town, is that they're incredibly narrow in their definition. And what we need to do, at some point, we will be doing, I don't know if it's 10 years, I don't know if it's 20 years, but eventually, we're going to need to widen the roads. And as they come up for, repaving or something, maybe at some point, I know it's an arduous and potentially expensive process, but people nowadays expect roads that they can live on, pass two cars, and actually have a shoulder to ride a bike or walk a dog or just walk or jog, and we should be looking at those every chance we get. It may not be possible in all areas, but there are certainly areas where it can be, although it will require eminent domain, et cetera, but still something we should look at, because that really is the heart of this issue. So, yes.
So should the board vote to endorse these recommendations, we'll put the report somewhere on the web. We don't have a major project section or something, but we'll figure that out. And then send a letter to all of the area residents that would be impacted with a hyperlink as to where they can find the full report. That said, before the board acts, were you able to get into the report anywhere, our last discussion about the chief's concerns on the advisory?
My only concern is that
I just want the board to be aware of.
one of my concerns with advisory signs of lowering what the actual speed limit is, that people need to understand that we can't enforce advisory signs. That is not in our purview, and it does create some issues, but we just want to make sure that people understand that.
So there's an expectation of folks that they'll follow that advisory sign as if it was the limit, and you can't ticket anyone for exceeding. So I just want the board to be aware of that.
I mean, to me, as a driver of, I don't know how many years now.
10, 12 now?
Yeah, over 10.
Really want me to say?
As somebody who's driven more than 10 years, I would say that, the signs are most important for people who are unfamiliar with the road. I mean, I live on Lancaster Ave. It's a very windy road. It's not as narrow as Flat Hill, but it's also not wide. And yet I know it like the back of my hand because I've lived here for 26 years. The advisory signs are really for people who, if they didn't exist, would be caught off guard that there is a turn or an S-turn or something like that. So I think that's the important reason for it, and to advise what the speed limit should be.
Yeah. We can also put we have the ability to put links up for that report. We can link it on our webpage also.
Perfect.
That'd be great.
That'll actually help moving forward. Anybody else that requests 25 miles an hour or any neighborhoods like that, they can see the work that goes into it, and it's not just to come before the board and say, I want 25 miles an hour.
Yep.
That there's specific guidelines that we're going to follow.
Given what else is on our plate, I would tell the board that it's probably about 2 weeks before we could get that mailing out to everybody. We can get it up on the web faster, but to get that letter to every resident, get that mailing list together and such, it probably will be about 2 weeks before I can do that.
That's fine.
Or actually, before Annie can do that.
Yeah. No, I think that's pretty reasonable. All right, are there any other questions?
Just comment. I want to thank as well the chief, because I know that I had raised a question about what is an advisory speed limit real? And is it even enforceable? So I do appreciate the full circle on that one. And I do think that people react to the advisory speed limits because they're a different color. It kind of tells you, hey, slow down in this area. And it's just I think it's a helpful tool. And it seems as if, between the police department and DPW that, I think you guys, the two of you specific as like people, have been really resourceful in trying to figure out, how do we get to the end state that we want to get to using all the tools in the toolbox. So thank you.
All right, is there a motion?
I would make a motion that we accept the report of the DPW director and police chief and the police department as presented tonight, and go along with their recommendations of the advisory signs in those 9 locations that were listed.
Second.
Any additional discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The motion passes unanimously. All right, thank you both for all the work that you did on this, and thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Mr. Chairman, could I ask that you take the other two nominations out of order so that Bill can speak to the two nominees and answer any questions?
Sure, that's fine, yeah.
Then we can get him on.
All right, so we're going to move to ratification of interim town manager's appointment for seasonal cemetery laborers. They're both, yes, Nicholas Green and Autumn Buck. I don't know if you've ever spoken on these before.
I think I have.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, he's here.
I'm here, so why not? So what did we write up for Nicholas? Okay. So,
A very inauspicious start, by the way.
It's been a long day. It's been a long day.
We used your write-up, Bill.
Yeah, 13 hours
you did,
so far.
okay.
Sorry.
All right. So Nicholas, he has some experience maintaining grass. He's a quick learner. He works well under pressure and has taken on bigger roles in other positions. Nick is a resident of Lunenburg and is eager to help maintain the cemeteries in any way he can. So,
Awesome.
and the other is Autumn Buck. So Autumn is a highly qualified candidate, having performed the same work at a state park and loves working outdoors. Autumn is also a resident of Lunenburg and has a conservation background. We are excited to bring Nick and Autumn aboard. They're going to be a great help for the cemetery department.
Awesome. Any questions for Bill?
Yes.
Okay.
Seasonal. Can you define that? Because it seems like, I thought this was a spring till
Yeah, I was wondering
fall
that too, actually.
thing every year.
Yeah, so seasonal, May to roughly Thanksgiving.
Okay.
This time of year, there's a lot of leaves, a lot of acorns. I don't know if you've gone to the North Cemetery, it's
Yeah.
acorn invasion over there.
And there's a lot coming down this year in
Yeah,
particular.
so we'll keep them busy,
All right.
yeah,
So seasonal means everything but winter.
correct,
Yeah, it doesn't mean that we only hire people with seasons in their name,
yeah.
as it turns out. But,
Good one.
Come on,
I'll be here all night.
All right, any other questions?
No, I would recommend that I would move that we ratify the interim town manager's appointment of seasonal cemetery laborers Nicholas Green and Autumn Buck as presented.
Second.
Any additional discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The motion passes unanimously. All right, thank
Bill.
you so much.
Thank you.
Thank
Have
you,
a good
Bill.
night.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
All right, we've done a lot of jumping around on this tonight.
Well, that
so let me
was in
just
order.
make sure. No, I just mean, we did one, it doesn't matter. Anyway, just want to make sure we get everything, that's all. All right, now we're going to move to a joint meeting with the Architectural Preservation District Commission about the Brooks House, which is just one member. It's Nathan, so I'll invite you up.
Mr. Chair, I would suggest that if they posted the meeting for 8 o'clock, that we wait until 8 PM.
Did they actually post a meeting for this? I don't know if they did. Let me look.
Did you post a meeting for this?
Anthony may have. And are there any of the other APC members on Zoom?
I
It
do.
might have been a quorum notice, which
Yeah.
would be proof sufficient for this purpose.
Nothing has been posted. So I will still invite you up.
Okay. Okay. So actually, it does have scheduled meetings and hearings, 8 PM joint meeting with APC. It looks like it's posted on the agenda.
I don't see it posted on, unless I'm missing
It's
it.
on our agenda, though.
Under section 5.
He's
Mr.
talking
Chair, we
about
could go to the interim town manager report.
Yeah.
All right,
we
that's
just
fine.
skip ahead.
All right, my apologies. All right, we'll go to the interim town manager report.
On the employment front, I would like you to know that our administrative assessing assistant that tentatively accepted the employee did not complete the process. So that one is back out for research. We did interview today for a sewer business manager, and that will be submitted to the Sewer Commission for ratification this coming Wednesday, I believe it is. So that will leave us with the assistant business manager and the administrative assessing assistant, which is quite a cut in the list we've been working with on for a while. I would like to update you on some of the projects. The Adult Activity Center roof bid has been awarded and is to be completed within 30 days. We have awarded the Lunenburg Historic Property Survey, which is underway, and the award for the library exterior paint project is underway now as well. I think that I'd like to address some of these other bids when we discuss ARPA. It'll flow together a little bit better. With the anticipated dates, I have been meeting with the facilities director every Tuesday at 2 p.m. to try to set targets and keep things moving along. And I think you can see by the bids that have been going out over the last week and the coming schedule that that has proven to be fruitful. So we'll stay on top of that. I do want to let you know that the TC Passios, good Lord, for the automatic spell checking of the TC Passions deficit, has been eliminated. We were able to find sufficient dollars elsewhere in the facilities budget to offset those. And I want to be clear that this had nothing to do with the school department paying their rent. They have paid their before and after school rent as agreed. I think that what happened was that it was not necessarily clear as to who was responsible for processing what, and who would mow lawns, and who would plow snow and all that. So we're going through a process right now with the school superintendent and the business manager and the facilities director to establish what the budget truly is to operate the budget, that building. And I've recommended to them that they make a very specific request for that building going forward, not just lump it in with all the facilities so that everybody can understand what the costs are. We're also looking at the building with the school department to see whether or not there's possibly some contraction that we can do within the building that might lower operating costs and make the best use of that $300,000. And the school superintendent has been an active partner in those discussions, and we certainly want to thank her for that. Thanks to an assistance from PAC, I was able to record a 30-minute Talk of the Town show, which introduced our new waste hauler, G.W. Shaw and Son, to the community. All reports, well, lack of complaints would tell me that at least it's gotten off the ground relatively smoothly. The only real change is they're coming from the north and Harvey was coming from the south. So they've kind of just flipped the route. Same day, same route. But if you thought you had until 10 or 11 a.m. because Harvey was going to be late, you now could miss the boat because Shaw will be early at your end. But we've hopefully had a nice discussion. We had a chance to exchange our youth growing up, tending to pigs and such a little bit. And I'm going to do one of those Talk of the Towns each month while I'm with you, different department head, different subject matter. Next month's will be, sort of question time, what's on the town meeting warrant for the fall.
Cool.
We held, I'm sorry, was there?
No, I just say
Oh.
cool, yeah.
Thank you,
That was a
Carter.
great idea.
Thank
Yeah.
I had 2 listening sessions for the employees. I didn't take an exact head count. We had 40 plus or minus in attendance. It seemed well received. Before we launched into the concerns, I did get a thank you for doing it, which is always, a good way to get started. We will prepare a fuller report, get all those notes written up and everything. But from a high level, I would like to share with you the concerns that the staff expressed. First was the status of the police department once Chief Gamble retires. Next was a concern for holiday sick leave and vacation time for those working under 20 hours a week, particularly holiday, because many of our people are part-time elsewhere, and so if they lose that 8 hours on a Monday or a Thursday, they can't come to work on another day of the week and pick that up. They are out of that time completely. It was suggested that we develop an employee recognition program. Some of the employees spoke to the sick leave donations being on a department-by-department situation kind of basis. They spoke to the challenges with the current reimbursement process. There was the general discussion of IT issues that you know about, and the need to develop some more standardized operating procedures. So we will be submitting a series of amendments to address the PTO, sick leave bank, employee recognition, and some other changes. You'll see those in your draft warrant next week. They're undergoing review by Mark Terry, and then I've tried to involve Nancy in it so that any changes to the accruals, I try to address some concerns that she might have. We have committed to bringing the interim police chief and final search process before you next week. I've spoken with that candidate. I do know that the chairman will want to speak to you about the timing of an executive session for you to review the proposed contract for the interim chief of police. We have committed to bringing a new reimbursement process and possibly a purchase credit card. This is not a standard credit card. It would be controlled by one individual. And we have committed to bringing those policy changes before you. We had said to the group 11-1, it will be in your packet for 11-1, but you won't have it for consideration until 11-05. When the employees spoke to the need for standard operating procedures, it occurred to me that Samantha was clearly volunteering to lead that group. And as Annie and Logan spoke to it, I sensed that they wanted to volunteer for that group as well. So they have established a working group. I've given them 1 hour a week to work on this. I've asked them to work with the committee handbook and to start on meeting minutes, standardization of meeting minutes across all the boards, and pointed out to them the section that allows the town clerk to set those standards for all boards and committees, and ask that they be sure to include the clerk in those conversations. This will not happen quickly. We've only given them 1 hour a week. They'll go away and do their homework. But involving the employees that wanted this in that process, I think, is important. And we, as well, did interview some people for network administrator today, and we had a good heart-to-heart with Suzer, and we'll review how that goes. I don't want to speak to it much more than that. I think Suzer felt that, well, let me just leave it at that. I think it was a good conversation, and we've turned the corner. The finance team is close to being able to close out FY24. We did have one department that had some adjusting entries that needed to be made. We did get those today. I want to thank Ezekiel for really going above and beyond. They're still a little bit off, but we're just going to at this point have to call them reconciling errors and try to clean them up in the next fiscal year, because I need to close the books. We're quite deep into this fiscal year without having closed fiscal 24. And with that done, we're hoping to be able to get the trial balance out to DOR by next week for free cash. We're not using any free cash at the fall town meeting. We'll use overlay surplus. And I've reviewed the 925 Mass Ave. I think it was Member Emke that had questions on that. I had a number of questions on it, which I've kicked off to town council, and hopefully Adam and I can get that done over the next few days. I'll be in the office next Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And I sent you all an email today, and if you have any questions on it at any time, just pick the phone up and call me. And we can, on a one-on-one basis. Happy to answer any questions about the listening sessions or anything that I've outlined in here.
I do have one question, Mr. Chair, through you to the interim town manager. My question is, the other piece that we'd like to have in place before a special town meeting, will we have the tax rate set or available to be set?
My short answer is,
I'll ask that tomorrow. Tomorrow, the assessors have a meeting, so.
well, so the plan is to have the classification hearing before you on November 5th.
Okay.
And that would have an estimated tax rate, subject to final review and approval by the Department of Revenue.
Right, I understand that, but Yeah, but I mean, it'll be out of our hands by that point, so, I mean, I've never had a time when DOR changed what our recommendations were.
God
I'm not
bless
saying
you.
they don't have the authority, but.
It rarely happens. It usually only happens, so you have to explain any differential in your local revenues that are up or down more than 10%. And so if you haven't done a good job at submitting that, sometimes they will kick that back and say, what's going on? Especially, let's say it's a new fee you're introducing, how did you get that number? When is that taking effect? What authority did you have to do that? The only other number is sometimes on the overlay, especially if it's adjusted along the lines that we've been having discussions at the Budget Task Force. If it jumps, I don't know where we are just yet, they may say, what happened here? It went from X to Y. But the plan is to have the classification hearing on November 5th.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
I don't have any questions, but I just wanted to make a comment that I really appreciate all the work that you've put in. I think that a lot of the things that you just reported on align really closely with the goals that we set, and even with what came out of the listening sessions. So I think that on a great path, and I appreciate all your work.
I do want to say that it is, and the employees must understand, it is an active partnership. And so, when one employee said something, I didn't know about this, and this, and another employee was able to stand up and say, but it's in the documents we've been sending every single month. It's like, there is a certain responsibility on the employee's part, when we do make information available, to read it and to ask questions about it if they don't understand. So I'm hoping that, that little polite conversation we had can just be a reminder to people that when that newsletter hits the mailbox, or when that email from Julie or Kara that says, the flu clinic's on Thursday, and if you're regularly scheduled to work during those times, you can have 1 hour of release time to go get your flu shots. So I do hope that, and for those who are watching tonight, I do hope that they can find a few moments to read those things that we do send out. Because on the other side of it, there's the staff that tries to put some time and energy into getting that information out. I think that if you did this twice a year would be plenty. Anything more, you need to have some time to actually have some progress on what they've suggested. I do think they appreciated it.
Awesome.
I agree with all of the comments. I do have a question, Mr. Chair, to the interim town manager. In the report, you noted that there's finances close to closing out, that there's a small reconciliation. How small are we talking? Are we talking tens of thousands, or hundreds of thousands, or hundreds? Thousands.
I think it's 140 on one account, which we
Dollars?
can, 140, which we can take care of in the reconciliation, and on the other department, it's somewheres around, I'm going to tell you somewheres around, because I don't remember the number exactly, 14,000 plus or minus.
Okay.
In the size of the budget, we will have to deal with it at some point. It will hit our free cash, and we're going to need to do something at some time. We don't have the ability that the state has to just, at the fall town meeting, appropriate $15,000 for deficits that were in the FY24 budget. But it's nothing of great concern.
Okay. Yeah, 15,000 in a multi-million dollar.
Yeah, 15,000, I think altogether, at the end of the day, we're probably 15,000 variants. I would like an opportunity to refresh that number if I'm wildly off.
All right, thank you.
All right, awesome. Thank you, Carter. But yeah, it's exciting to see all that is in motion right now. So thank you very much. All right, so we're going to go back to our joint meeting with the Architectural Preservation District Commission. It was really just Nathan Lockwood here today regarding the Brooks House. So yeah, you can come up to the podium. It's better for you.
All right, great to see everybody. Great to see everyone. Nathan Lockwood, 91 Main Street, member of the Architectural Preservation District Committee.
I got a little presentation.
Okay, I think the booth, if you share your screen, the booth might be able to put it up. Let's try it out.
All right, can the host please enable screen sharing
Oh,
or?
never mind. Okay, can you email it to me real quick?
Yeah.
If you want to have it. Sorry, I didn't know you had a
No,
presentation.
no, it's all good.
cnewsolo@lunenburgma.gov.
And Nate, you don't have to lean into the mic, they can adjust the volume.
Oh, okay, great, thank you.
So you can stand normal and they can modify.
All right, sorry, I'm just getting this email sent here. I'm sorry, Caesar, how do you spell that one again? Oh, cnewsolo at
Yep.
Lunenburg, got it.
Yep.
Okay, great. All right, thanks, yeah, let me know when you get that over there. It looks like Anthony Scullambrini has joined the Zoom.
Yep, I saw. He's on the Zoom. I just let him in.
All right, so I can exit the Zoom, is okay? Or actually, I'll stay on so I can see it on my screen, I guess, when I share it.
I got the email. I'm opening it up now. Apologies for the folks at home. Cool. All right, hold on one second. Let me share my screen. All right. There you go.
All right, fantastic. Well, thanks for having me. I'm here today to talk about a warrant article that the APDC would like to add to the town warrant for the November special town meeting pertaining to the Brooks House. So I think just is how to proceed here, go through the article and then we can, go through the presentation, and if you want to look at the details of the article, we can do that. So the purpose of this article is to save the Brooks House from demolition without using taxpayer money. The Brooks House is an attractive historic building located at 1033 Massachusetts Avenue. The article seeks to create the conditions for the building's restoration, renovation, and valuable reuse using private funds and initiative. In order to achieve this, the article asks town meeting to instruct the select board to sell the building along with a minimal lot footprint. Let's do the next slide, please. The Brooks House has a rich history predating the Civil War. It was built by Samuel Bailey in 1837. It was sold to Fernando Brooks in 1870. At that point, it became the Brooks Farm. Fernando's son Warren lived there with his wife Ida. The house operated as a youth hostel for a period in the 40s. After Warren died and his wife sold the property to town in 1946 for use as the school department offices. It's an architecturally significant building located at a prominent vista approaching the historic Lunenburg Town Center. It was used as school's offices until around 2011 when it was relocated to the current office in T.C. Passio's building. Following that, the property was partially leased to the Lunenburg Ledger for a brief period until roughly 5 years ago. More recently, the main area of the house was occupied by the Lunenburg Public Schools Facilities Director, who has since also moved to the T.C. Passio's building. As a result, the Brooks House is currently being mostly used for school storage, while the town continues to incur costs to heat the building and maintain the envelope of the building. The Town Building Reuse Committee, with varying memberships over about 10 years, has been considering using it for town government purposes. The general consensus has been that the building's not well suited for the requirements of town departments. The property is in the Architectural Preservation District and falls under the protections and zoning of this bylaw. As such, it cannot be demolished without the consent of the APDC or a vote of town meeting. These protections are necessary but not sufficient for the preservation of the structure. As, absent a compelling use for the building, the town is unlikely out of fiscal responsibility to continue to allocate the funds needed to prevent the building from falling into disrepair. And without private reuse, the building will likely end up being demolished due to progressive neglect, much like the old primary school before it. At present, the building is still overall structurally sound. It's attractive for private mixed-use repurposing due to several factors. Oh, no. I'm
know what that says.
gonna open mine up. It looks like, this is,
Okay, so we can just skip that one and go to the second bullet point if you want.
Hang on one sec. So it enjoys permissive mixed-use zoning of the Village Center District, which means, it can be used for both living in and hosting a business, or just hosting a business. The building is equipped with emergency exits, enhancing its adaptability for a wide range of commercial uses. It's potentially has some good foot traffic and convenient location with visibility on Mass Ave in Town Center. So, given all that, the building is desirable for private mixed-use repurposing. The town does not have a public use for the building at this time. The size and location of the parcel are in no way essential for further redevelopment of the town's property for other uses. Residents of the town have consistently prioritized retention of the town's historic character and structures, both by passing the APD bylaw in 2015 and as recently as 2024 in surveys and public working sessions related to updating the master plan. So folks in Lunenburg, when they are asked, consistently tell us they would like to preserve the town's historic character. It's important to them. The building needs the needed protective repairs and routine maintenance and upkeep are costly to the town. Renovating the building would be costly to the town. Demolishing the building would be costly to the town. Conveying the building and lot for private use would produce tax revenue. And solving the future of this building, helps out the town and the building reuse committee by just simplifying the overall equation for town building reuse, taking one piece of the puzzle away and letting us focus on the important remaining pieces. So yeah, that concludes the presentation. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you, Nathan. All right, I will, maybe I skipped all that, but, all right, I'll pass it over to the board for questions.
Do you have the actual wording of the article?
Yeah, I do. One moment. I can send that to Caesar as well.
While you're bringing that up, I will say that I'm glad to see this come forward. I think that the reasoning that you gave and the bullet points are accurate. I concur that the town will likely not be spending any money anytime soon for a building that we have no purpose for and no reason for, in line with what happened with the, now I'm gonna, Luther Burbank House, which I can't remember the title of, unfortunately. But we went through this where we put it out for private bid several times, even at no cost, just to keep it on. Finally found the current residents who did a fantastic job there and were able to, restore the building and keep it up. If there's an appetite for this, I think it's a very interesting location because of the surroundings. You would have no privacy if you lived there. But if somebody's willing to do it, I think it is the only option available to us that would prevent it from being demolished. And so if that is true, and I believe it is true, then I think this is something we should have to really pursue. I'd like to see it saved if possible. It's so unusual and it's so amazing to me that buildings like this were moved. They're much larger. They were moved several times to a current location. It would be nice to see that house moved to a separate location to regain the property in front. If somebody's willing to do that, that would be great, but it has to start with the town meeting article that allows us to try to sell it. And I'd be willing to do that even at zero cost to purchase, as long as the person's willing to agree that they will put this amount of money into revamping and revitalizing the building. So thank you for bringing it forward.
Well, thank you. Appreciate that.
So,
Sorry.
I thought you were looking at me like, okay.
No, I just didn't know if we were,
All right.
if you had pulled it up, the article.
I do. I don't know if we really want to read it, but if you want to go first.
Are you just
then-
going to send it to us?
I can do that, yeah, if you want.
Or-
It's kind of lengthy, so.
It's in the select board drive.
The whole,
I don't see it in the drive. I see the extended
it.
summary.
Okay, that's okay. It's with
Okay.
me and Annie.
If you want, I could go through, do a really brief summary just so people
Yeah,
have an
sure,
idea.
sure, why not?
Yeah, and to Tom's point, I think the town was given authorization to sell the property, sell the building to move it at a previous town meeting, possibly. I don't know if that's...
That's correct.
This is to sell the property.
This is to sell the property with it,
Which
yeah.
I'm willing to try if somebody wants to do it.
Yeah, so I mean, so it's basically, I won't read to see if the town, so basically it's to ask the select board to take the following actions. One would be subdivide a lot of minimally compliant size for the property that includes at least 4 parking spaces as part of the property on such terms and conditions as the select board may determine. So one thing to know, it's in the Village Center District zoning. The regulations for the lot, the offsets, the lot size are incredibly permissive. I think the offsets are maybe 5 feet to each side of the building or something. You could very tightly carve the parcel along the building. The intent here with requiring that parking spaces, some number of parking spaces be conveyed with it, is to make it viable as a either inhabitable or commercial property. You know, no one's going to buy it if they can't park outside it, long story short. So the second point is to convey to the owners of the property basically an easement so that they can get to their property through the existing driveway and parking lot of the town-owned library. So that's how the building is currently accessed, is you go into the library and you go to the right, and then at the end of the parking lot, there's a access to the driveway or parking lot behind the Brooks Building. And, you know, figure out what that looks like. There may be different ways to do that legally, but, you know, we'd be asking the town to do that. And then convey an easement to allow potential access, not conveying the parking spaces, although you could decide to do that as opposed to this, is basically give an easement for access to an additional 8 parking spaces. This is based on, that would give 12 parking spaces. This is based on the formula for parking spaces for commercial uses in the Village Center District. I think it's like a parking space for every 300 square feet, something to that effect, basically. And that, I believe the existing Brooks parking lot likely has enough spaces to accommodate all of that, or certainly if they, you know, if it's not there, you know, maybe a couple in the library space and they would be all set. All right, the last point, I think, the last point is to place the property for sale by appropriate legal means at the town's disposal. And there's no later than October 2025, and continually retender it until it's sold on terms and conditions that the Board of Selectmen determines. Or the Select Board, I apologize.
My only comments that you addressed when you were just reading that part of that article is, you know, about zoning and meeting with planning and the subdivision itself of the property, you know, how that would be done and making sure we are following that process. But it sounds like we've already started talking about that, so.
Mm-hmm. And I did add it to the drive, by the way, so if you want to read it, it's there now if you refresh it.
Well, the real trick is, and I give this to the committee, and it's going to involve more than the select board, because the select board, I don't think, owns the property. I think the school department owns the property. And I'm not sure, because I don't think it was ever subdivided.
Correct.
So the school, the building was turned over to the town when it was vacated, so the town, we were able to say, hey, if you can get the building moved, then move it. But we don't own the property, and that's a school department property, so we have to carve out the lot
Exactly.
with them.
My point was there, yep.
Yep.
Interesting. Okay.
And we did put that request before the town. I know it was only 5 years ago, and it was defeated. And that was to subdivide that lot specifically for the building. But what was passed was for us to be able to sell the building itself, which we can still do. So if someone wants to buy it, relocate it as of 2019 in May, this board has had the ability from the town meeting voters to sell the building.
Okay. Yeah, so we can certainly talk to the school. I guess, is it possible, I mean, this is more a question for town council, if we can get the article amended on the floor or in some way so that, you know, if the school, you know, to reflect the current ownership.
Well, I mean, we haven't published a bulletin, so.
You cannot. You need to start with how you want to divide the land up. Well, first, is the school interested in releasing the land? That's a basic, no-cost question. You then need to decide how you want to divide the land up, because you're going to need a survey plan and authorization for the board to sell a piece of land described as.
Right.
And so the current,
With the parcel ID number.
or at least, yeah, you wouldn't have to divide it until you're ready to actually sell it, but you got to be able to, meets and bounds. So there are some things that are a little bit out of order here that you couldn't solve necessarily by amending the current article as proposed.
If, may I ask the questions?
Yes.
So, a couple of, well, the Municipal Building Design Committee really considered this to be a surplus property, and in the hybrid model, I think the long-term use was for this to be utilized by facilities, and at that time, the town manager expressed some interest in retaining the building for the purposes of being like office space for facilities director, potential school facilities as well. But we kind of identified it as surplus. I think there's a couple of things the town can do here, which is, reach out, the state, the Commonwealth has a program called UPP for underutilized properties. And I think it's called the Underutilized Property Program, or whatever it stands for. But basically, they have an interest when municipal properties sit vacant, and they do provide some resources to assist in that, and it's grant-based. Generally, I don't like the idea of portioning off this building within the school parcel, and I'll give you a couple reasons why. Right now, when you travel from basically Memorial Park all the way down till you start going down the hill on Mass Ave, on your entire left-hand side is municipal property. And if you carve out a postage stamp, right, of property, I'm gonna go worst-case scenario. Worst case scenario here is that someone who buys it puts a sign in the window that says, "I hate black people," right? Or, pick your, whoever you want to categorize, which is something that you should be able to do or can do on your own property anywhere. But when we create in the middle of municipal property a private parcel, we open the door to all the unintended things that we don't like. Which is signs in the windows, the speech that we may not want the kids that are going to grade 6 through 12 to look at every single day that they're coming in and out of school. Now, granted, they can see it on Burridge, they can see it on Mass Ave, they can see it on Lancaster, but I have a slight issue with creating those conditions in which we can, have a property right at the entrance for a school, right what looks to be municipal speech, and for it to not actually be municipal speech. I'm using an extreme example. There's a whole lot of other stuff that comes with having this parcel there. Now, I know that many communities, urban communities, they deal with this all the time. We're not alone in having, obviously there's houses across the street. But that's my natural hesitance, is I just think the location of it is a little too prime, that it really worries me. We can't regulate speech, but it worries me the type of speech that will get a real prominent location at that property. Aside from that, I like the idea of someone coming along and perhaps moving it, or, for us to figure out what's minimally needed to continue to use it. But that's my general response. I need more information, but that's my general inclination.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I think this type of thinking about what ifs that are pretty improbable has, been a barrier to the town, effectively managing some of its surplus properties. It's something I think we've struggled with for the past 20 years. So I think part of bringing up this again, even though it has been considered at different times, is I think there is an opportunity for us to rethink this a little bit. Our schools are already near a bunch of private properties. There's been nothing.
It's been a good experience.
Vaguely like that. Yeah. I mean, the middle, the elementary school, the Turkey Hill there is next to a couple private properties. Even if we made the Brooks House disappear, there's properties across the street. They've got political signage, just the normal stuff. No one's, off the rails or anything, but it's just life. I mean, people, we can't put our town in a bubble or a part of our town in a complete bubble. I think The footprint of this building is incredibly small. If you walk behind TC Passios, there's a compost pile roughly the size of the footprint of this building. It's an attractive building. It could be an architectural feature. And the goal in terms of turning it over to private hands is to put it to vibrant private uses. Maybe they'll open a coffee shop there. It would actually be a good location for that. It actually has the facilities that it would bring more people to the library. You could go to the library, take out a book, go sit down at the coffee shop and read it. The zoning is there to do this. Like, it is an attractive location. It's a good-looking property. And we'd be better served as a town by making it a living monument as opposed to just like, a statue.
You and I have time that we're going to be meeting and to talk, and I will take this up then in more detail, because I'm, like I said, my inclination, but I'm not willing to make a decision yet.
Sure. No, I appreciate that, and I appreciate you raising these concerns, because I think you're not the only one who's thinking about that, and I think it's a natural inclination to want to protect the good things that we have. I think, though, that sometimes, it's human nature for that to sometimes crowd out other possibilities. So I look forward to talking to you about that.
And I know I gave like an extreme being an African American, but I think the other things is, when you get the speech that says, vote yes on 3, or, I think it just has the influence of looking like, the average person may not realize that, hey, in the middle of this large stretch is now a private property.
Right.
And this isn't town speech.
Yeah, it's really at the edge of the public property in a sense. But I'm wondering too, a couple of things. One is the town, the goal of this bylaw was not to prescribe you must have these meets and bounds. It was to empower the select board or the school board or whoever to solve it, Understand the town's intent is to get the property in private hands for real use. Maybe there are deed restrictions you could put on that would, the buyer's going to limit, stuff they can do. And 99% of these buyers, it's not going to be a big deal. If they can't put up political signage, or their signage would have to be reviewed by the school committee, be approved by the school committee or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but.
Well, you got to pick what you care about at some point. You know what I mean? Do you want to demolish a historic building because you don't want to put on a deed restriction? That's like, it's trade-offs. As far as, I guess a question for Carter is, does town meeting have the ability to compel the school to dispose of to relinquish the property?
However, anyone who ignores the vote of town meeting does so at their own peril.
Yeah. And I think that we have to, I've said this numerous times, that I think that we have to recognize that we have a problem with what to do with old school buildings.
Yep.
And I know the school committee is committed to trying to kind of changing course in this, which is excellent, but it doesn't, change the reality of here and now, which is that, we're buying new and shiny without a disposition for what exists, and what exists needs millions of dollars in investment to keep it running, or it starts literally degrading and falling apart. So, and I think we just as a community, before we as voters vote for money for a building to not be used anymore, we need to have a plan for what it's going to do for us. When we have a change of use, we need to have a disposition plan, because it really is unfair to all of us as taxpayers to be in this position of what are we going to do with this old, what used to be a superintendent's office, et cetera. And we're having these conversations 15 years after these were actively utilized. Because clearly, whatever the building offers did not and has not met our needs.
Definitely. It hasn't met the needs for town use, but it could be great for a private use, and it does, by the nature of its history, represent something that has value to the town otherwise. I think you start to pluck these buildings away from the town, and it won't be long before you lose the character of town center. That is a building that greets you as you enter town center there. We have a similar situation down the other end of Mass Ave coming into town, where a building could be demolished at some point, potentially, with the old funeral home there. And it's a perfectly reusable building, but, it's easy to say, it's just one building, but pretty soon, you've kind of lost that connection to the past. You can just look at it in the picture books, and that's it. It's, your town's the same as any other town in the country at that point. I guess I would be open, and, I think, I don't know that I can speak, Anthony's on this, he can chime in, and I don't know that we have a quorum for a meeting, but I think the goal of this article is to put this question before the town voters, to create a mandate for the select board to work with the stakeholders they need to work with, to achieve what is a pretty simple goal. We're saying, take a minimally viable property here, open it up for private use, take the steps you deem most judicious to make that happen, but make it happen. And, we don't want it to fall off the rails along the way because, oh, well, no one showed up for that auction. It's like, no, we're going to do this till we get it off, till it happens. That's really the goal of this is to get the mandate from the town to the select board, so the select board can, use its ingenuity to execute on that.
I recall from our last time talking about this that we even needed town meeting approval just to partition, subdivide the property. And that was what was defeated, was the request to create different parcels here. So that way we would have the schools, we'd have TC Passos, we'd have the Brooks House to really open the doors for the future. I remember being a part of that conversation, and I remember that article being defeated. So we're basically saying, enough time has passed, let's come with a different argument, but still the same request, and let's see what happens now. And we know the makeup of the town has changed over the last 5 years.
Yeah, and I don't know that the APD, was it the APDC that introduced it?
The select board did.
The select board brought it through last time. I'd say let's give it another run. I think we've had time to pursue other options and see how that went. And I think, I think it's worth the conversation.
All right.
All right, cool.
This is Tony Scullenbringy. If I may just add a few words, if I could.
Sure, yeah, we can hear you.
First of all, I want to thank Nathan for his initiative in getting us to take a look at the Brooks House again. And I think that he's really done a good job of summarizing what the need is. The house needs someone interested in saving it. And I think that while there's obviously concerns about turning that piece of property over to a private owner, I think that there's ways you can control how that transfer takes place, and at the same time, it represents something that could be viable for a private individual to conduct business in the village district, which is one of the reasons why the town passed the village district bylaw to promote, more business in the center part of town. And, I've been participating as a member of the public in the Master Planning Steering Committee meetings and the Master Plan public meetings that have been held. And in almost every one of the public meetings that we've had people say they want to have more commercial activities in, the village district. And I think that this could be a way of adding to the village district as the town members, that have participated in those public members have asked for. I mean, there's always some concerns when you take a piece of public property and turn it over to someone with private hands involved in the development. But I think that the warrant basically says, let's explore it with the end result being something that would lead to a transfer. I think there's risks to everything. The one risk that we want to avoid is just leaving the house fall apart and then have to be demolished. I think that the school committee could be approached. I think that they would understand what we're trying to do. And it's not like as if we don't have non-school facilities in that area. I mean, the public library is not a school facility. And I think that this is just a way to complement what we have started there with the library being at that location. Nathan, I think you did a great job of summarizing. Thank you for taking the initiative to bring this to the select board.
Hey, thanks, Anthony.
All right, thank you both. I don't think there's anything that I'm going to add to it. There's been a lot of discussion on this, but, I get the concerns, but I also see the potential here, and there are ways at the select board, if we are to move forward with this, there are ways that we can sort of guide what happens. We've done that before with other properties, but is there anything else anyone on the board wants to say?
I would just, in closing summary, say that I want to see something happen, because if we don't do anything, then nothing will happen, and that means the building further deteriorates, and you're closer and closer to the inevitable, which I think if we can avoid, again, like we did with the Jones House, I did remember the name, if it wasn't for the fact that the select board, and it was close, it was a 3-2 on the select board to sell that and sell it for no money, like $1, just to get it back on the tax rolls, and it worked in a huge way. and I'd be for saving it. I am probably in the minority. I know the APDC, and I know Mr. Scalabrini certainly, being on the Historical Commission too, feels I'm probably in the minority wanting to protect historic buildings. And as a general rule, I think the public wants to, as long as they don't have to do anything to do it, as long as other people do it. And
Statement of values, not a.
Right. So I am for seeing if we can do it. And I think that there's some, maybe some problems that we can work out with the wording and what can happen, even if it becomes a non-binding vote, just to get better understand the will of town meeting or what they would be doing, and then go forward. We can work with this board can work with the school committee and with the town manager and everybody to try to designate what we think would be the lot lines. It would not have to be anything that would be recorded, it would not have to be separated. This is the idea with parking. This is the proposal eventually that we would have people buy into, but we certainly can get there, and this article would be a good placeholder to say this is what the goal is. And of course, for you, Mr. Lockwood, will vote on it with ranked choice voting too.
Oh, of course, yeah, thank you.
All right. Carter, do you have any closing words?
Well, this has to come back at the annual town meeting.
Right.
But you could turn it on its head and request that the select board and school committee, or the select board at least, develop a subdivision plan and a potential adaptive reuse. Now, that's a bit more positive, I think, perhaps easier to get an initial vote on. Then at the the annual town meeting, and we've got a pretty clever guy over here at the new land use development director. You'd have some graphics, you'd have something more definitive, and you could get the monies that you needed to survey that plot, and the actual authorization for the select board to sell. If the commission is interested in revisiting the wording a little bit within the next week, I'd certainly be happy to meet with them and try to pound out something that I think meets their needs, and yet perhaps might be bit better received by the town meeting, and a bit more in line with the statutes. We would need to get that done within the next week, however.
And the article may need to come from the select board, given
Pardon?
that we have care and custody over the property. It may be better received from us. Right.
Okay, to have the warrant article come from the select board. Anthony's on the call here. I am supportive of what
Is
you are
that something we
proposing.
could get a quorum, let's say, by next Tuesday on?
A quorum of the APDC?
Yeah.
We'll work on that, Carter. I'm actually in Seattle, but we'll do a Zoom meeting to discuss any potential changes to what we presented as a warrant.
I'll work with them.
Okay.
Perfect.
Thank you.
I would like just to add, I've always said to boards, committees, and citizen petitions, if you got an idea for a warrant article, please feel free to come in ahead of time. And while I might not agree with it, I can at least help you wordsmith, well, for the time I'm with you, I can help you wordsmith it so that it's presented in a format that is at least, in compliance with the steps you got to go through.
Yeah, that sounds great. This was a little bit late developing on our end, and, we were kind of rushing, so I apologize for the rush.
But if the board's open to that, and the APDC is, I could meet with them and have some new language by next week.
Yeah, and we've historically wordsmithed our own articles to the last minute, so.
Yeah. Okay. All right, cool. Any remaining discussion at this point?
I have one question. Would it be, I hadn't thought about the school property angle. Is there anyone on the school stakeholder side that it would be useful to engage to, walk them through the presentation or anything like that?
I think Mr. Beardmore, for sure, but as well as, any member of the school committee, Mr. Leighton. But I would suggest Mr. Beardmore, since he's kind of had a more facility focus as a member of the school committee.
Super. Yeah, appreciate that.
I was just looking at the article from 2019 when we tried to convey the land and the building, and it is what you were proposing, the select board, not the school. So I think, looking at that too. why it was proposed that way at the previous article.
So the building, at the time, the Building Reuse Committee was advisory to the Select Board, and typically, the boards that are advisory to us, history has been that we put the articles on.
We'll have to look at that. We'll have to look at the map and the lot.
Yeah.
I don't think it was ever, again, it was never designated its own property.
Yeah, and it was, the next one that was the one that passed, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think to Carter's point, like having that, having that laid out with, kind of more definitively, and, I mean, to make it pass, I think the APDC would recommend, our goal here is not to carve out a big chunk, just like make it as small as we can. I think if people know it's good, if it's small and people see exactly what they're getting, I think it has a better shot, like as Carter was saying.
Well, the important part is that we put the designation of what the site plan will be, but we don't actually execute it unless somebody buys it. So we don't have to separate the property and then, well, that's not happening. It's like, so we just leave it, but we will execute it if there's a sale, so.
Oh, it's a good idea, yeah.
And we would assign Chris Riley to work with this once approved by the town meeting.
All right. Well, thank you for coming in.
Thanks so much.
Enjoy the rest of your night.
All right, you too. Thanks so much.
All right, we're going to move over to old business now and go to status update and discussion on ARPA. So I'll pass it over to Carter for that.
Certainly, I sent out a supplemental memorandum midday. You've asked me to develop a safety plan, if you will, for lack of a better term. And truthfully, I can only give you my thoughts in broad strokes, because we still have numerous unknowns. The tree trimming proposals are due in December 10. The DPW roof at $65,000 is due in October 23rd, as is the DPW floor. The Municipal Building Design Committee has a target of getting all the proposals in for 10/28. A bit of a wild card. We don't know exactly where that might land. The library teen room met with Chris, as I mentioned this afternoon. The target is to have those bids in by November 4. Then on the other side, we had some wild cards of yet a $60,000 estimate on a project, but we think it'll come in at around $38,000 plus or minus. We have a bid of around $33,000, but I've allowed a contingency of 15% because there's some carpentry and repair that they won't really know until they start to get into it. So we have some projects that may have underruns, which we then need to apply elsewhere. And we have a number of capital projects which may be underfunded. For instance, the Adult Activity Center roof may be $10,000 short. So at this moment, my suggestion is that we purchase the 4 DPW trucks with ARPA instead of the capital monies, and we can then reallocate those capital monies at the annual town meeting, should that be needed. The second is that we apply ARPA underruns first to ARPA project overruns. So for instance, on the exterior envelope, we think we're going to have $20,000 at the library, but we know we don't yet have roof and floor numbers at the DPW. So there'd be an automatic reallocation of any project that's under budget would first go to any project that's over budget. We could do the same thing with the capital project. For that example, the Adult Activity Center roof, the bid is $5,000 above estimate, and then we need another $5K roughly for contingency. So my idea is that for any underruns on ARPA projects, first, we cover the overruns on capital projects, especially those that have been out there for a while. We also, as this picture starts to become a little bit clearer, can adjust some of the quantity targets. So for instance, as you get closer to December, if you've still got monies, you can always increase the allocation for tree trimming. That's a quantity contract. It's by the hour, so you can tell somebody to do 25,000, 30, 35, as long as we stay within that band where we can just solicit pricing under 30B. And similarly, the sewer manhole repair, you know, maybe you do an additional 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, I don't know. And finally, I know it wasn't on the original requests, but something we did in some other towns was we gave an allocation of dollars to the local food pantry. They bought foodstuffs, submitted the costs, and then we reimbursed them. That is something that would benefit many people in the community and can be put in place pretty quickly, pretty easily, especially at holiday season as we start getting in. So that really is broad strokes. That's the best I can give you until we start getting more bids in. Julie's been working with everyone. We've been, you know, I think you've seen a lot more go out the door in the last few weeks, and we have more on the schedule. Happy to answer any questions that might come to mind.
Mr. Chair? I do have one question. In your contingency, point number 1, which is purchase all DPW trucks with ARPA, so what DPW trucks are you referring to?
Yeah,
So
I
you
was gonna
have,
ask
you
that
have
too.
2 of the 6 wheels that are being purchased with capital monies. They're actually on the lot. You're waiting for the fit out of them. You expect to get them around December 15. Instead of using capital money, if we're,
Okay,
you
so
know,
these are trucks that we've already put in the...
You've already
requisition
ordered
form.
them.
Okay,
So
gotcha.
those are
Okay.
separate from the trucks we used ARPA money for.
Right, well, that was an ambulance and one
Ambulance
other
and
truck.
2 dump trucks.
Well, you have the ambulance, that's ARPA.
Yeah.
Right,
You have 2 6-wheel dump trucks, as I understand it,
Yep.
that you're buying with capital money.
Okay.
So you could pay the ARPA monies for those. And then you could reallocate those capital dollars to other projects in the spring.
So my memory is,
I'm trying to remember what we initially posted that money for.
it was an ambulance for about 500 grand.
506.
And then it was 2 DPW dump trucks at about 200, because I think the
Yeah,
total
the
was
whole thing was
980.
like just under $1 million.
Yeah, it was like 986.
Right, around 450 or
what I
something,
remember too.
probably.
Yeah.
Right,
So those aren't coming in, they're ordered.
right.
They aren't coming in until March.
Got it. So these are some other, that's right. So these
Oh.
were other trucks that were previously ordered under capital. And that, as I remember the conversation, Tom, it was that we had already had orders in for capital. We were getting
So
significant
that
delays.
was from a previous year?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
And that's why we
That's what, I just
pushed
want to
it.
know where those trucks were coming from. So,
Yeah.
yeah, well, that makes sense then.
The other thing that we can do, if we really need to push the cash out, these trucks are sitting, awaiting fit-out. What we have done on some occasions is paid for the cabin chassis and taken title to that, so we can push that cash out the door, and then we pay for the fit-out separately.
Well, I like this, I like the plan then. So, yes. Because that should, because those 2 trucks are sizable in cost. So in case we get left with
It-
something,
It is a little bit of moving the peanut under the shell, the pea under the shells. But as long as we stay on top of it, I think we'll be okay. We do have
well, there's
some,
going to be, in the fall, in the spring, there will be another capital project article that we can reallocate, and there will be vehicles in that, I am sure. When the capital planning committee starts meeting, I'm sure there will be articles. So if we do supplant this, then those monies that were approved in that capital plan from 2 years ago, it should be easy to reallocate, because it's going to be the same purpose, or the same, maybe not the same exact vehicles, but vehicles for DPW were going to be on there.
right. And tomorrow at the staff meeting, after you asked for this plan, I think it was 2 weeks ago, I advised the staff that if they have a piece of equipment that is on the state bid contract and could be delivered within 60 days, or at least put under contract within 60 days, to bring those to me tomorrow.
Okay.
So I may have some additional
Good.
real quotes, hopefully, in hand. I know the police chief's been hard at work on that. Always a fellow that helps me find ways to spend money, good guy. So I think we're closer than we were, but there's just so many unknowns
Yep.
as we sit here today.
Well, I feel better seeing this in one sheet about if these are the intangibles right here, and everything else that's not on this list has Like, I want to make sure we're fully covered with the million we gave to the parks.
Yeah, I was just going to bring that up, actually, because we've talked a lot about other projects, and that's the biggest dollar right there,
Right.
so.
So that would be good to make sure that, to see what they have done against this, to make sure that from the federal perspective, we are covered under what is, quote, committed.
And I have asked Adam to confirm for me, the position is that because that $1 million was committed to the state in partnership with that grant, that is in fact committed.
Okay, good.
And I've asked Adam if was part of that conversation and feels comfortable with that. I just haven't been able to complete that conversation with him yet.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, is there anything else we want to talk about on ARPA tonight?
No, I think people probably want to get home to watch this.
I only found out that was tonight a couple hours ago, so I don't know if people plan on
The vice presidential debate.
debate.
I'm not watching it.
All right, well, we're almost done. I mean, we have a lot of minutes to review, but other than that, current business, the only thing we have is adoption of select board goals for fiscal year '25. So first, coming out of our workshop last week, is there any discussion?
I would like to make a comment. I've been a part of many workshops over many years, and I think that was the best workshop I've been a part of. I think that it was facilitated well. I think that the members of the board certainly came with an open approach to the conversation. I think that, we all have varying points of view, but I really enjoyed the feedback that all the different members said. I know that I probably agreed more with Tom on most things in that, as I think, Tom's view on goals is generally similar to mine, or rather mine is has become more similar to Tom's, but I think that it was a really good conversation all the way around from all the members. The participation was great, and I think it's just a great example of this board, working together for the good of the community, so.
Yeah, thank you. I think it went really well, too, and I think we walked away with a lot of really solid to-dos. I think it's given us a vision of the work that we need to accomplish and obviously what our goals should be this year. So I was going to bring it up, too, in the upcoming meetings, but I was thinking about scheduling more workshops as well, so we can start putting together some of the policies, because it might just be easier, just like tonight, like it's almost 9 o'clock. We had a lot of other work that we had to do. So if you guys think that's a good way to move forward with actually getting some of the work done on those goals, to do more workshops, then I'm definitely for that.
For sure.
I think I said that last week, yep.
Did you?
At the workshop, I said.
Okay.
Because when you get, not all the time, but there are some things that are important. Goals certainly are important, and there are other things that can be equally important, that you need a one agenda item meeting to work on it and solely work on that. So I will say what I said at the workshop as well, that while I do agree that the goals came together well with all of us participating, I will say that the creation of the goals is like 25% of the work, and then the 75% is actually making progress toward progressing toward them. Not even necessarily completing them, but certainly make sure that they don't just sit on a shelf that you dust off every once in a while to say, oh, we haven't really gotten back to these. So a cautionary tale.
No, I understand, and that's the point of scheduling even maybe a workshop every month on the last Thursday of the month, if we're, amenable to losing that last free Thursday of the month to not come and do work for the town.
Tuesday?
Last Tuesday.
What did I say?
Thursday.
Did I say Thursday? I'm sorry, it is
Sorry, I
late.
can't do Thursdays.
Tuesday, I meant Tuesday. But yeah, that's just what I was thinking on that. So there's nothing else that we need to discuss on that today. If we want to, formally adopt the goals, we can.
Are you looking for?
I am.
I move to adopt the select board goals for fiscal year '25. And
Second.
beyond.
Any additional discussion? Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. All right, the motion passes, and we have adopted our fiscal year '25 goals. All right, so we have a lot of minutes to discuss and approve tonight. November 14th, 2023, November 28th, 2023, December 5th, and September 10th, 2024, and September 17th. Have we had a chance to review all these?
No.
Okay.
I was just gonna say, I don't think September 17th is in there. September 10th is in there.
Right?
Okay, yeah, I see September 10th, and then it goes to the interim town manager's report.
I did review the September one, since I wasn't
Yeah.
at the other meetings, I've been recusing myself, but I think she made the adjustments that we requested on the September 10th. I think those ones have been submitted before, but it
Okay.
sounds like not everyone's reviewed them yet.
Well, I would say that, I mean, so the ones from November 14th, which are very short and really were recommendations of the special town
Is that
meeting
the,
articles.
yeah, meeting before a special town meeting?
Yeah, I mean, I think we could probably, just to get them off, so we could make, I'd make a motion that we approve the minutes of November 14th, 2023, as written.
Second?
Any additional discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Motion passes
Oh.
unanimously. Oh, I'm sorry. Any abstentions?
Aye.
All right, motion passes 401.
And the other ones I have to
What?
more fully read.
Oh, 3, never mind. We're missing a member today. Sorry, I'm all messed up now, aren't I? 301, thank you.
All right.
All right,
and
so
we'll
those
come back.
were November 14th.
Right?
And then there's September 10th as well. And yeah, it looks like that's the only one that's in this packet. Do we feel comfortable approving these ones tonight?
I was comfortable with approving those ones, but I don't know.
Okay,
I have no problem approving them.
all right, cool. Is there a motion?
Are we doing all three?
No, I thought we just.
No,
read what
September 10th.
The one thing I will say, I mean, I'm not, it shouldn't hold this up, but if you look at the bottom right corner of each, like, this one says page, I'm on
Oh,
page
yeah.
4 of 2.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
So,
does, yeah.
so there's numbering, there's a mathematical
5 of
problem
2.
with these numbering
Yeah.
of the Word docs.
oh,
I thought we commented on that
Since
last.
that is not,
No, I don't
since
think-
that is not anything to do with the content, I am willing to,
Yeah, it looks like
Okay.
the changes that we did ask with member, and some other things
Right.
were
Word,
adjusted.
right. So I would move that we approve the minutes of September 10th, 2024.
Second.
any additional discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those
Aye.
opposed, no. Any abstentions? All right, motion passes unanimously.
And the other two I'd like to read, the ones from 2023.
From, okay, so it's November 28th and December 5th?
Correct.
Correct.
Okay. And then, do we say September 17th was in here too?
It's not
No,
in
It's not in there.
It's not,
That's
okay.
okay, yeah.
All right, sounds good. Moving on to warrants. It's like we have a big stack over there.
Do you have a black pen?
One, okay. I do not, I was gonna ask for one. Yeah, I need a black
You might
pen.
be sharing here.
We have an accounts payable warrant in the amount of $951,027.52.
Can I ask a question? This might be to the interim town manager. Do we know how my mother is being paid? I don't want to sign a warrant if she's being paid in accounts payable now.
I'm afraid I don't know the answer to that
Okay, so I'm just not going to sign. We only
Okay,
need
that's fine,
3, right?
yeah. As long as we have 3, it's okay.
I'll have an answer for you at the
And it was
next
just that
meeting.
one? Yeah. All right, any action items?
I was going to bring up the SharePoint migration, but Annie preemptively answered my questions with her email today, so I appreciate the work that she's putting in to that migration.
The what?
The SharePoint.
Oh,
moving us over to
yeah.
SharePoint.
Yeah, that was a good, yeah.
Yeah.
Any other action items?
I know that there has been a conversation about tax rates and whether or not we should consider changing our tax rates. So even before we meet with the assessors, I would like to see if we can just have a discussion about that, because I'd like to present some information. I could probably do it in a public comment, actually, but I'll give some information next week.
Okay.
And I know we're at the end of the meeting, we're probably into people already watching the debate, so probably not the opportune time to say this publicly, but I do think that it's worth noting that, every community between Air and Gardner, north of Route 2,
Sure.
does a single tax rate system, and to explain the history of that, why it's done, and maybe why we should continue it.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to discuss that at some point.
If I may just comment on that, we've talked about that in the Budget Task Force, and tomorrow at the staff meeting, we'll bringing up a methodology in which that can be put out relatively easily, and I'll give you an update on the schedule for that after tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Any other action items? Committee reports.
FinCom met last Thursday. Capital planning they've now scheduled, we have preliminary schedule starting this month, so we're kind of behind where we want it to be, but that will be this month. Most important is the Board of Assessors. We got an email, the board, from last week, and that meeting is tomorrow at 6:30 regarding some issues that they wanted to potentially have us here. I will be at that meeting. It's at 6:30 at the lower meeting room in the Ritter tomorrow at Wednesday the 2nd.
I don't have any.
Library met last Thursday. I need to get the full update from them. I was not able to attend. Municipal Building Design Committee is meeting this coming Monday, and I just want to make the board aware, some of my outreach that I do out, in this role, but not directly in this role. I had a conversation last week with Senator Cronin and with Senator Kennedy. Ed Kennedy is out of Lowell and a community in Dracut, and the conversation was about 40B. Which, as we know, is a consolidated permitting process that allows for housing opportunities. And what I was advocating for, because there's grumbling that the Senate, the House may be taking a serious look at 40B. I know I've been a consistent advocate for that, even in my conversation with the Lieutenant Governor a couple weeks ago. But what I wanted to highlight is that, my advocacy for this is modifying the 40B process to consider senior housing. The point I keep making is that we have many members of our community who want to downsize but remain in the community. And so, can we tweak this 40B process to, really allow for starter homes for families, to allow for, housing that's specifically designated for 55 plus, and then also housing for veterans. And I think that, as I understand it from Senator Kennedy and from Senator Cronin, is that they will be having more discussions going into the fall. They are planning on bringing forth legislation during the session that starts in January. If both are reelected, they plan on bringing forth legislation that will, again, make these tweaks to allow more localized control for 40B processes, but specifically as it relates to those areas, senior housing, starter homes.
Thank you. I don't have any committee reports. None of my boards or committees have met in the past week, but I do have a similar update along the lines of that one. So I had an opportunity to speak to Representative Scarsdale and her team about Lunenburg's exclusion from the governor's relief regarding the Neshoba Valley closing. And her team are pretty dedicated and are advocating on our behalf to try to get us included so that we can get some of the funding through that program. So hopefully that works out. All right, upcoming meetings. We are meeting next Tuesday on October 8th and the following Tuesday on October 15th.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah.
I will not be able to be here at the next meeting on October 8th.
Okay. Any other absences on either of these meetings? All right, cool. All right, public comment. Any public comment from the interim town manager?
2 scheduling notes. The intent is to send you the draft warrant next Tuesday with a final vote on October 15, so I can publish all that in the flyer that goes out. And we would need to have a short executive session next Tuesday, 6:30, 6:45, at your pleasure, to review the contract negotiations with the interim chief of police.
I'll just ask, I forgot to bring it up, but are we good to have an executive session before next week at 6:30?
I am.
Yeah.
I won't be here.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Do we need 30 minutes to go over?
No, we can push it back, but
I think it's going to be pretty straightforward.
Yeah. I'd rather 6:45.
6:45.
2 minutes late, then we run 2 minutes late.
What?
Okay.
I don't know how long it will take, so I will defer to people who know what we're talking about.
Well, I haven't read it yet, so I can't say for certain either. All right, cool.
We'll try to get it out to you ahead of time.
We are not having a meeting the Tuesday before Thanksgiving, is that correct?
I mean, I wasn't really planning on it, but I guess we can have that discussion.
That's the last Tuesday
I won't be
of
available
the
either.
month,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Is it the last Tuesday of the month? Maybe it is. Yeah, maybe it
It
is.
is, yeah, the 26th.
Because I won't be around that Tuesday.
Oh, so that is
I won't be there.
you mean the week of Thanksgiving?
Yes, week
No,
of.
we're not going to meet that week.
Oh, that's the
Okay.
Tuesday before Thanksgiving.
Sorry, for some reason I heard Tuesday before. I
Oh, it
interpreted
is the
it
Tuesday
differently.
before Thanksgiving.
I know.
Okay.
We've already established that I'm not thinking
And
correctly
the
tonight.
schedule for action on the fall town meeting warrant is acceptable to everybody?
Yep.
Okay.
All right. Any public comment from the public? I see someone raising their hand on Zoom, but then now they're not raising their hand anymore, so I don't know if you...
Yep. I'm here. George Burden, 39 Cortlandt Circle. Wanted to bring the attention to the board that 2 weeks ago I talked about public document requests that I asked for, hadn't been responded to. The town is now in compliance issue with the state, the Secretary of State. We have not heard a response. This document request is specifically regarding an abusive zoning board appeal that we feel is very, very abusive, that's requesting a shed to be left on common land of our homeowners association. I think anybody that is involved in a homeowners association at a director level, a trustee level, in the town of Lunenburg or any other town should be well aware of what the town is trying to do to protect this individual that has a shed behind his home that's on common land that's owned by 44 individuals. They requested an appeal. The appeal was then requested to be extended. The neighbors and the owners of that land that are deeded owners have not all been notified. I am one of those owners. I have neighbors on each side of me. We have not been notified of this takeover of this land. The town, the building itself, the structure is considered an unconformed structure on a special permit. The town manager, Brian Gingras, the zoning board of appeals, I don't know his actual title, has told the trustee to move his shed, to move that shed off of common land, and that's where the appeal came in. Very, very abusive. We request this, there's an extension on October 23rd, zoning board of appeals at the town hall. We request anybody that's involved in a homeowners association to attend that meeting and see how abusive this is. HOA lawyers involved as well, where they charged us $20,000 for accusing us of things on common land that never occurred and that we were never even able to be represented by an attorneys that we paid. However, a trustee that has full control is very abusive in this process. It's unbelievable, and anybody that we've talked to said there's a conflict of interest with those HOA attorneys, which we know Mr. Jeffries potentially has a connection to that we've talked about before. It's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. And another thing, we've asked for those document requests. Mr. Terenzi has ignored us. Is this about the situation where the policy was tried to, with the other town manager, was trying to redact or stifle her from releasing information? We think this is very related. It's happening again. We have other document requests that haven't been responded to that will be in a compliance issue very soon as well. This puts a liability on the town. It kind of shows where we've been attacked and what we've been going through. Those are some issues. I want to make another instance that is very disturbing to us. If you think about the issues that we have brought up in the past about Mr. Jeffries, Mr. Jeffries has indicated things about real estate taxes, and then we've gotten attacked about that. We think there's a protection in our neighborhood, our HOA, of reducing those taxes down 33%, and when we raised that concern, they went back up. Others went down. We all know what's going on there. I think the people around the lake should understand that I raised the concern on their behalf, and I was attacked in my neighborhood for doing so. And I'm trying to be evicted from my home with 3 daughters and a wife that we've lived here for 20 years. Totally disgusting. Mr. Jeffries and Mr. Franco made a comment on a January...
Mr. Burden, I'm sorry to cut you off, but if you want to just wrap up your public comment.
Let me finish, please. I have one more minute. Mr. Jeffries made a comment, and Mr. Franco on the January 9th, 2024, about basically calling us crazy in mental cases. We've had neighbors yell out their windows about those same remarks that were made at that comment. And also, Mr. Jeffries has sent me an email that prior to that told us we had concerns and called us batshit crazy. Does it make sense for someone to be concerned with mental health issues that then goes into a public records request and an individual that counsels use for mental health, that counsels that, goes into a meeting and abuses and basically persecutes a family of 5 that basically is a contradiction to his other words. What do I mean by that? Someone calls someone has abuse, is concerned about mental issues, but then abuses that person in that same manner. That's like calling someone that got raped. You're calling her someone that got raped maybe later on. Oh, don't worry about it.
All right, Mr. Burden, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but thank you for your public comment. Enjoy the rest of your night, okay?
Everybody needs to be aware of this situation in town. It's a big liability. As we've heard before, the chief of police has caused problems for us, and no doubt about it, there's problems. And we have one more comment I want to make. This is pathetic. You were all copied on an email from a neighbor of mine that we had friendships with, that we did things during COVID. We brought him groceries. That guy turned around and backstabbed us, and now has said he's going to take us to a lawsuit because his wife had a stroke. We haven't even talked to his wife for 3 years.
All right, Mr. Burden,
Okay?
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I've let you go on for a while now. All right, we need to move on. Have a good night. Are there any other public comments from the public? All right, seeing none, are there any public comments from the board?
None.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Any additional discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The motion passes unanimously. It is 9:16 PM and the select board is adjourned. Thank you all at home for tuning in tonight. We'll see you next week.